NFL fans, welcome back to a brand new episode of the J All Day Sports Show. It's Thanksgiving week here, guys, on the channel. We're going to go over Week 13 predictions, my initial thoughts about the entire slate of games for Week 13. Back in Week 11, we went 12-2. We absolutely crushed it. And we're doing pretty good in Week 12. We're 7-4 so far. Considering all the crazy upsets, I'm pretty happy with that. The Steelers losing to Cleveland. The Titans beating Houston, OMG. And the Cowboys somehow beat the Commanders. Jaden Daniels has looked like cheeks the last 3 weeks. All right, guys, let's get into Week 13 predictions. My initial thoughts for this entire slate, all 32 teams. Let's get into it. All right, NFL fans, let's get into Week 13. We're 42-12 so far over the last 4 weeks. We're absolutely crushing it. That's why you got to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's kick off this week with our 3 Thanksgiving games. We're going to start off with the Dolphins at the Packers. This is going to be a really close game, a lot of fun. The initial line is at 3.5. I think that's perfect, though. The Dolphins defense has been playing a lot better as of late, and the Packers had a big win this week in dominant fashion over the 49ers. They got back-to-back games at home. I love the Green Bay Packers in this spot. The Dolphins got to travel on a short week. I like the Packers in Lambeau, and we all know the Miami Dolphins cannot play in cold weather to save their asses, right? So that's why I love Jordan Love to get the job done for the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau on Thanksgiving. Tua is going to freeze his little Dolphins nuts off, and he is going to get a big loss on Thanksgiving Day. Let's move on to another great game, Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. This game is going to be a lot of fun. Since Shane Waldron got fired 2 weeks ago, Caleb Williams has played tremendously better. He threw for like over 300 yards this past week. He looks really good. They lost a very tough game, but the Bears are playing a lot better with this new offensive coordinator. The line's at 10.5. It looks a little steep to me, but I think the Lions get it done at home. The Lions are so good at home. Jared Goff has looked incredible, but the Chicago Bears on the road aren't so good. It's going to be crazy loud in there. I just expect Jared Goff to have a very good game. I like the Lions to establish the run game, use some play action to work plays down the field with Amon-Ra St. Brown and company. I really like the Lions in this spot. They actually probably cover the points too, but Caleb Williams has looked a lot better, so Bears fans, it's not all bad in Chicago. I think if they get a really good head coach and a good offensive coordinator in there moving in the future with Caleb Williams, they're going to be just fine. Okay, let's move on to the final game of Thanksgiving. We have the Giants and the Cowboys. The Giants are so incredibly bad at football. That organization is an embarrassment to the NFL. Coming off a bye, looking like they did against Tampa Bay, that's not a very good team, right? They've been barely winning games. They lost 4 in a row before that. To get the brakes blown off of them like that is so embarrassing. Guess what? It wasn't Daniel Jones, guys. It wasn't just Daniel Jones. That's a little bit better because Jones is still cheeks, but they have a lot more problems than just Daniel Jones. I would love to see him potentially sign with the Cowboys. That would be crazy, and play against the Giants. That would be insane. But Cooper Rush got a big W over the Commanders. The Commanders lost that game about 38 times. That was one of the worst football games I've ever watched in my whole life. What a dumpster fire the Cowboys are. I have no words. How the Commanders lost that game, I'll never know. But I'm going to take the Cowboys in this spot for sure. Micah Parsons kind of having that defense playing a little bit better. Deron Bland is back too. I like the Cowboys to win and cover. That's a great bet. Dallas Cowboys minus 3.5. I love that bet, guys. All right, let's move on to the Friday game. I think Netflix is doing this game. We got the Raiders at the Chiefs. The Chiefs almost blew that game to the Carolina Panthers. The Chiefs, I don't see any situation how this team wins another Super Bowl. They look really bad. They almost lost to Bryce Young and the Panthers. It had to go to overtime. They blew a big lead. Yikes. I do like the Chiefs to win this game, but that 13-point spread looks pretty high, and it looks like Gardner Minshew got hurt at the end of that Raiders game. We'll have to see if he's going to suit up in this spot. It could be Desmond Ridder, but I like the Chiefs in this spot. But spread-wise, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole because the Chiefs just blow leads. They're not playing great football right now. All right, let's move on to the Sunday slate, guys. A lot of really good, interesting games. Seahawks at the Jets. Seahawks had a very big home win over Arizona. That defense really shut down Arizona. I was very, very impressed with the Seahawks defense, shutting down Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray and company. They did an excellent job containing a high-powered offense. The weather was kind of shitty and rainy and windy like it is always in Seattle. So Arizona, they just didn't look good out in the elements. We saw that experience from Seattle playing in those conditions really pull them to a victory in this past week. The Jets are terrible. I'm taking the Seahawks all day. I don't care if the Seahawks are on the road or not. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire. Aaron Rodgers is a joke. This team makes a lot of penalties. They just don't play good, sound football, guys. I'm going with the Seahawks to get a road victory and potentially solidify themselves as the number one team in the NFC West that is wide open still right now. All right, let's move on to another interesting game. Texans at the Jaguars. The Texans are a joke, man. That offensive line, Tunsil has 14 penalties. Like, what is he doing? This offensive line, they spent a lot of draft capital on, a lot of money on. They playing like crap. They are playing absolutely terrible, man. And CJ Stroud, what are you doing, bro? Running out of the back of the end zone with the game on the line. Terrible play call. Terrible awareness by CJ Stroud. What, he threw 2 picks in that game? The Texans are the biggest fraud in the NFL right now. They're the worst first-place team by far. It's not even close. If the Jaguars won this game, I wouldn't be surprised, but the Jaguars are so bad that the Texans probably get it done. So I'm going with the Texans in this spot, guys. All right, now let's move on to the Chargers and the Falcons. I love the Chargers in this spot. The Falcons' defense is terrible. They get no pass rush at all whatsoever. And if you give Justin Herbert time to find Ladd McConkey in those crossing routes, they're going to get eaten alive all day long. The Atlanta Falcons offense with all these huge weapons are underperforming in my opinion. The defense is just not good. I expect the Chargers defense to really shut down the Falcons. I love the Chargers in this spot over the Falcons. They get a big road victory here. Here's another interesting game. The Titans and Commanders. The Titans come up off a big division win over the Texans. Very impressive. Will Levis is still garbage, throwing pick sixes, but Pollard in the run game has looked pretty good, and the Titans' D-line is one of the best D-lines in football, guys. The Commanders, man, have not looked good. I'm going with an upset here. I'm going with the Tennessee Titans to get a win on the road over the Commanders. The Commanders have lost 3 in a row, and they've really come back down to earth. Jaden Daniels couldn't do anything against a very mediocre Cowboys defense, and the Titans defense is way better in my opinion, especially the front 7, right? So I'm going with the Tennessee Titans to run the ball down their throat and get a road victory. Big underdog win for the Titans, right? And the Commanders are falling more and more out of playoff contention. This is a big slate of games, guys, so bear with me. Arizona Cardinals at the Minnesota Vikings. The Cardinals look like cheeks, absolute cheeks against Seattle. Now they got to go play on the road again against Minnesota, who just barely got a victory over the Bears. That was a very good game. Minnesota Vikings, I love them in this spot. I think they get a win. Back-to-back road games for the Cardinals does not bode well for them. The offense looked pretty shaky. The defense looked like crap. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were winning that game pretty handily and kind of let the Bears sneak back into this game, right, guys? So I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings at home, especially to get a big W here. Next up, we got the Colts and the Patriots, right? I like the Colts here. Anthony Richardson is still not my favorite quarterback in the world, right? But New England, we see week after week, they just have no weapons, man. They have no running game. The wide receivers are absolute cheeks. The Colts actually have a pretty decent roster. I think Shane Steichen gets a big win here on the road versus the Patriots. Michael Pittman's starting to look really good as well. Jonathan Taylor, I think they'll be able to establish the run. I like the Colts in this spot. And our last early slate game, Steelers at the Bengals. I'm going with another upset here. Actually, they have the Bengals as favorites somehow, which blows my mind. I think the Bengals get a win over the Steelers. How the Steelers are underdogs in this game doesn't really make sense to me, especially with the Bengals defense, but I like the Bengals in this spot for sure, guys. I'm going with Cincinnati at home with this wide receiver and core and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And Joe Burrow is playing some of the best football in the NFL. If this team was like even mediocre on defense, he would be in the MVP race. Joe Burrow has looked great all year long. I expect that to continue. And the Steelers' defense has looked very beatable over the last few weeks, guys. And Russell Wilson's kind of regressed a little bit too. I like the better quarterback in the spot. That's why I'm taking the Bengals. All right, guys, we got the Buccaneers and the Panthers. The Panthers had a very good showing this past week versus the Chiefs, but the Buccaneers look right. Having Mike Evans back and some of the secondary guys back looked huge for the Buccaneers. And I expect the Buccaneers to go on a huge run the last few weeks of the year. I like the Buccaneers on the road here as -6 favorites. I think they really shut down this defense, guys. I love them in this spot. I'm really looking forward to see what Baker Mayfield can do over the next few weeks. All right, guys, next up, we got the Rams on the road traveling to New Orleans. I don't believe in the Saints team at all whatsoever. I'm taking the Rams. There's no way the Saints can stop Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I think Matt Stafford absolutely balls out in this spot, guys. I love the Rams to get the W, and -2.5 points sounds like a good bet to me. There's a lot of bets I like this week. Get in early. This Rams line, -2.5. I love that spot. All right, NFL fans, this is my favorite game of Week 13. We got the Philadelphia Eagles on the road taking on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I really like how the Philadelphia Eagles offense matches up against a pretty mediocre Ravens defense. We have to make sure Devontae Smith is healthy for this game because he's out tonight versus the Rams. So, initially, I'm going to go with the Eagles because I think Devontae Smith will be back for this spot, and I just don't think the Ravens can stop A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and Devontae Smith at all whatsoever. The Ravens' offense is okay, but the Eagles' front seven has been playing out of their minds good. They have a big test tonight versus the Rams, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles, to get a big road victory here, guys. And with the Commanders on this losing streak, we're getting closer and closer to locking up the NFC East. Then the nightcap on Sunday night, we got the 49ers at the Bills. The 49ers are a shell of themselves. The Buffalo Bills win this game in dominant fashion. They cover the spread too. I love the Buffalo Bills to absolutely crush the 49ers in the spot. They just don't look good at all. Purdy should be back, but I like the Buffalo Bills in this spot. And wrapping it up Monday night, we got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Denver Broncos. I'm going with the Broncos all day long. That defense is too good, especially at home. They're going to shut down Jameis Winston. It's going to be a little closer than people think, but I like the Denver Broncos to get a W here. All right, guys, that's a full slate of games. All these games, 16 games, pretty incredible for Thanksgiving week. I hope each and every one of you have a great Thanksgiving with your family. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.